Coming up on the FSR Sarc Fighter Podcast, Tate Basildon was told he only had 5 years to live.
And then after that operation, the heart failure specialist came to me and he said, well, now in about 5 years, you need a heart transplant. And I was like, I was perfectly fine a month ago. I was healthy and everything, and now I need a heart transplant.
But Tate is fortunately still with us. However, so is his sarcoidosis.
I will not lie, it's tough. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but I wake up in the morning and I'm like really grateful I'm still alive.
This is the Sarc Fighter Podcast, living with sarcoidosis and other rare diseases. Here's your host, John Carlin.
Well, hello and welcome to the FSR Sarc Fighter Podcast. The date of this recording is July 12th, 2026. You're going to really enjoy this conversation I have coming up with Tate Basildon. Tate is a fellow Sarc fighter, and also he's a fellow podcaster, and he does a fair amount with sarcoidosis, and he's got an interesting way of doing that. So we'll have more about his podcast and his story coming up. But Tate's lucky to be with us. As you heard, he was told he only had 5 years to live, and that was about 20 years ago. So he's definitely beating the odds, and I'm going to let you tell us all about that. So by way of apology, June was an incredibly busy month, and July has been also. So I am really in the first time in the history of this podcast, I'm sort of way behind in posting, and I don't like to do that. You've heard me say I take my my deadlines very seriously because of my background in journalism and broadcasting. It's just kind of a mandate that you live by, but I've got some decent excuses, and I'm just going to share what's been going on with me here for a minute. First of all, my mother, as you may have heard me say back in January, passed away at the age of 91, but we delayed her ceremony until June so all the family could get together and give her a proper send-off, as it were. My mom was very active. She was a volunteer in my town. She was elected as the town clerk for several terms. I think she served 12 years. And helped run the town on a day-to-day basis. It's a small town in central New York, Salisbury Center. Most people haven't heard of it, but Mom was kind of the nucleus of that town for a long time. But she had graduated from William and Mary, and my dad was a pilot, and they got together, and here I am, and thankfully. But we wanted to give Mom a proper send-off, but I grew up in central New York, as I mentioned, where my mom was so effective, but she and my dad both grew up in a small town in western Massachusetts on the Vermont border. So we had the ceremony, the initial ceremony in New York, but then drove the next day to Massachusetts, where Mom was buried. And so it was a lot with a lot of relatives, and it. It was. I don't want to say it took a lot of time, as if that was inappropriate. It was the appropriate amount of time to dedicate to Mom, but it also it did use up a fair amount of my bandwidth in the middle part of June, and then the day I got back from all of that, a photographer, a news cameraman that I work with quite often here at the station, came up to me and said, I didn't want to disturb you while you were gone with your mom, but looks like you and I are going to the White House tomorrow. And I said, what? And so just a little backstory there. I had been working on a series of reports, really, on a remarkable hero named Colonel John Ripley. And this goes back to Vietnam. And the North Vietnamese, and for those of you who are maybe short on your Vietnam history, they were essentially the enemy, the Viet Cong. They were massing a major offensive and they had, and I don't speak military units very well, but battalions and 200 tanks and you name it. And they were about to overrun the U.S. forces and the South Vietnamese forces, which were much smaller and had no chance. And the only thing between them was a river. And as soon as they got across the river, it was not going to go well for the U.S. side. So Colonel Ripley is ordered to stop the invasion no matter what, and he, on his own, starts carrying explosives underneath the bridge across the river. And he got them on his back, and there's 500 pounds of explosives, and he's taking them about 100 pounds at a time, and he's literally swinging hand over hand underneath the bridge and attaching these explosives to the bottom of the bridge while the North Vietnamese are shooting at him, realizing what he's trying to do, but he's hiding up among the girders under the bridge, and they can't get a clear shot at him, and he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And one of the interesting things about this story is that you normally would insert a blasting cap to trigger the larger explosive. And when you do that, there's this tool that looks kind of like a pair of pliers where you would crimp the whatever you need to crimp into the wire, which you would insert into the explosive, which then would make it work. Well, he didn't have that tool, so he's using his teeth. And if he pinches it too hard, the thing blows up. So it literally would have it would have been lights out for Colonel Ripley if he had done that wrong. But so, I mean, he's literally it's like something from a movie, right? He's going back and forth under the bridge. And then, long story short, he blows the bridge, stops the invasion, and saves the American troops. And it's an incredible story. And it is one of those rare feats of military heroism that is clearly deserving of the Congressional Medal of Honor. But this was 1972. The war was drawing to a close, and the United States at the time gave him a lesser medal. It was certainly a good one. I think it was the Navy Cross, I want to say. And he certainly got his recognition. And he later went on to, after he stopped the invasion, he finished his service and later went on to become a professor at the Virginia Military Institute, which is right here about an hour north of Roanoke, Virginia, where I work. And during the first Gulf War, I reached out to him for an interview, and he became sort of an analyst for us, and he would come to the station occasionally, and so I actually knew Colonel John Ripley. So then, advance it to today, and his son had continued to persist that his dad should get the Congressional Medal of Honor. And eventually the planets lined up, and a local congressman carried the bill through Congress, and President Trump agreed. And so in a White House, because it's always given by the president, in a White House ceremony, Colonel Ripley was to receive the Medal of Honor. And because we had done so much coverage of the family's efforts, the congressman's office got us a special invitation to go to the White House and to cover this. And there is the White House press corps, and of course they all covered it, but local media doesn't generally get access to this. And it was only because of my coverage leading up to that point that my cameraman and I were invited. So no sooner than I get back from my mom's celebration of life, then I have to turn around, or I should say get to turn around, go to Washington and be there at the White House. And remember, my broadcast career dates back to 1980. So I've been at this for a while. I've never been to the White House as anything other than a tourist. So here we go, and we go in with the media from the North Lawn side of the White House, and we kind of go through the bowels, like the back of the kitchen, and just kind of wind our way up some back stairs, and the door opens, and there you are, boom, you're right back in the public facing or the diplomatic facing part of the White House, and we're in the East Room, which is the biggest room in the White House. And having said that, it's kind of small, but we covered the ceremony. It was posthumous, of course. Colonel Ripley passed away a long time ago. His son accepted the Medal of Honor, and it was really, really something to behold and something I'll always remember. So in the meantime, I had been telling you guys about this trip that I had been planning on my bicycle across the state of Virginia. And that also has happened since the last time that I talked to you. I'm pleased to report that I did complete Brava bike ride across Virginia, Brava 250, in celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States and Virginia. And another little piece of backstory here. If you remember, I had a complete rupture of my Achilles in November, surgery in mid-December, and then I started trying to train for the ride, which was difficult because of the injury, life's commitments, and so forth. And then came the realization that, this bike route across Virginia is about the hardest way that one can plan to traverse the state. You can get across Virginia without going through all the mountains, but the idea was to ride. There's something called the 76 bike path, and it goes all the way from Astoria on the Pacific coast to Yorktown in Virginia. And it was set up for the bicentennial back in 1976. So we were going to ride the portion that goes through Virginia. And the first 2 days of this particular ride are considered, I found out, the hardest section of the entire 76 bike path across the United States. And I had no idea how hard this was going to be. So here I come. I'd missed all of I couldn't really train in earnest until May. And then we had all the stuff going on with my mom, which was out of state, and then going to the White House. And then, so anyway, I didn't feel particularly well trained. And I thought, well, all right, I'll just train as I go, right? I mean, I'll just treat this not like a race or anything like that. It's like, I just got to do it. Well, the first day was 63 miles long, and there was 6,000 feet of climbing. So those two numbers combined make it the hardest bike ride I think I have ever done. Certainly the hardest bike ride I've done since I was in like my 30s, 30 years ago. So off we go, and it was hard. I'm just going to say there were places that I was fighting for every single pedal stroke. And then the next day, almost as hard, 57 miles, 4,000 feet of climbing. And I was so determined, as you heard me say, to get this done and to be ready for it. But by day 5 was another particularly difficult day. And the organizer of the tour said, "John, would you like to borrow our e-bike?" And I said, yes. He said, my legs were so, I mean, I would get up in the morning and the lactic acid buildup in my legs was so bad. It was awful. So now these e-bikes they don't have a throttle. So you don't just sit on them and ride like a moped. Okay. You have to pedal, and the little motor inside the e-bike doubles or triples your effort, and it just depends upon what setting you use. I tried to use the easiest setting, but I wound up riding the e-bike for 3 days, and one day was a 70-mile ride, and in 100-degree heat. I'm not kidding. You've heard about the heat wave. I was very glad to be on that e-bike for those few days in the middle of the trip. And then when we got to Richmond and we had to ride from Richmond to the coast, I went back on my regular bike and rode happily and managed to recover some on those days on the e-bike. And then we got to Williamsburg. And I got to tell you, we were there for the Virginia 250 celebration, and it was amazing. The fireworks were as expected. It was a grand show, but they also did one of these drone shows, and I had not seen one in person. Really amazing. Really, really. You'd see these lights, these like little specks of light come out into the night sky, and then all of a sudden, boom, there is an eagle, and its wings are flapping, and it's bigger than the fireworks. It's huge. And then all of a sudden the lights go out, and boom, the drones had rearranged themselves to make an American flag. And then boom, there's a picture of the Statue of Liberty's torch, and then all of a sudden it comes up and it says Virginia 250, like a hard graphic, and that was beautiful. And then as that slowly faded, here came the fireworks behind it. And to be in Williamsburg, which is older than the United States, the home of William and Mary, and then to be watching that, it was just amazing. So very, very much worth it. So, and so I don't know what that's got to do with sarcoidosis, except to say that I remember when I was diagnosed and I didn't know what was ahead for me. And so this would have been in 2016, 10 years ago now. I didn't know what my mobility was going to be. I didn't know what my lifespan was going to be. Nobody knew if this was something that could go into remission or not. We didn't know if any of the treatments would work. We, of course, had no idea why I had sarcoidosis. And I just, I had the opportunity to say, well, the first thing that occurred to me, and I've said this on the podcast before, the first thing that occurred to me is that I've never seen the Grand Canyon. So we immediately made plans to go see the Grand Canyon. And, of course, we turned that into, it was a bike and hike trip that we did with a group called Backroads Outfitters. And so we saw the Grand Canyon, saw Zion National Park, and we rode bikes a little bit. But, I have been determined, because I'm still in that phase, although I would say that I'm in remission or controlled, thanks to my good medical care from the Cleveland Clinic. I would say that I'm in a place now where I feel like I can do whatever I want to do and what I'm able to do. I still have a lot of lingering side effects and terrible neuropathy and all kinds of things you've heard me talk about. I don't want to get back into that again. But this sort of sense that do it while you can is very, very much with me. And so that's why I signed up for this. I'm not going to tell you it was fun. I will tell you it was rewarding. I will say that it was worth it. I will say that I am glad to have to be able to say that I did it and to have those memories and those pictures from along the way. But that has all happened since the last time that I've been talking to you. So it has been a lot, and that's why it's taken me so long to get another segment on the air. Having said that, I do have one little piece of news from sarcoidosis news. I'm going to keep this one kind of brief. This is by their writer, Andrea Lobo, PhD, and it's dated June 30th. But and if you want to read the whole thing, you can Google it or you can click in the show notes where I'll have a link. But basically what it says is nearly 4 in 10 people with pulmonary sarcoidosis have had a relapse after reducing or stopping treatment, according to a review of more than 50 published studies. So this is one of those where they go in and they're not looking so much at individual patients. They're saying, all right, there's all these studies out there. If we put them all together and we look at the results, what do we find? And so they found that, and I'm reading to you here, most studies with timing data reported relapses occurring within 1.5 years of reducing or discontinuing treatment. Black patients and those with more advanced lung disease were at significantly greater risk, while combination treatment and longer corticosteroid treatment, prednisone, were associated with trends toward fewer relapses. And so that's what they looked at when they looked at 50 studies. So I guess the takeaway there is if you stop taking the medicine, there's a good chance of you're going to have a relapse if you've got pulmonary sarcoidosis. Okay, so that'll be in the show notes if you want to read the rest of it. After the break, we'll be listening to my interview with Tate Basildon, who is going to share his story dealing with sarcoidosis.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the Sarc Fighter Podcast. You may be wondering, what can I do to help? How can I be a part of the sarcoidosis solution? It's simple. Make a donation to KISS, Kick In to Stop Sarcoidosis. 100% of the money goes to the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. Look for a link in the show notes of the Sarc Fighter Podcast. Welcome back to the FSR Sarc Fighter Podcast. Joining me now is Tate Basildon, fellow Sarc fighter. Tate, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me.
Sure. And where are you talking to us from today?
Westchester, New York.
Westchester. Okay,
Yeah.
Just north of New York City.
Yeah, just an hour north, yeah.
Anybody anywhere near Yorktown Heights?
Like 20 minutes away from there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, my wife actually lived in Yorktown Heights for
Oh,
a while.
yeah?
Went to high school there. So I
Oh,
know a
okay.
little bit about Westchester, but there's a lot of people who live there, and it's very different parts of the county.
Yeah, it varies a lot. You have horse country, you have city, you have, regular folk. It varies,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your sarcoidosis. When were you first diagnosed?
I was just 2006.
2006.
Yeah, so it goes back to 2002. I went to Colorado and I got acute mountain sickness and double pneumonia. So I came back. I used to live in Virginia, actually, and I went back to Virginia, and the doctor said, "Yep, it looks like double pneumonia." So they treated it that way. But he suggested I go to a heart cardiologist because he said it was something he didn't quite like with how my heart was looking. So this was 2002. So I went to a cardiologist. He did a whole workup and he said, everything's fine. Your heart is fine. Your heart is strong. But we took an x-ray of your lungs again, and you have some bulbous sacs at the top of it. So we want you to go to a pulmonologist. So I went to a pulmonologist, and he said it was emphysema. So I've never smoked and never drank, so it's like, it was baffling why I would have emphysema. So I just left it like that. And then I didn't do any follow-up until I moved back to New York in 2004. And I went to a new pulmonologist, but because of insurance, back in the day, they didn't have Obamacare and you had to wait because of pre-existing conditions and blah, blah, blah. So I had to wait. And I went to the new doctor and he told me there's no way there's emphysema, but he thinks it's another disease, but he needed to do a lung biopsy. So he did a bronchoscopy, but I am resistant to anesthesia. And I pulled the tube out while they were doing it. So they couldn't do it. And I also didn't like that doctor. So I went to another doctor and he said, let's do an open lung biopsy. So I did the open lung biopsy, which I'll let you know, it was a horrendous operation.
Yeah, can you describe that? I don't know what that is.
So what they do is, rather than going through your throat, they actually do incisions in your torso. They do 3 incisions, and they take samples from each lobe of your lung.
I hope you had anesthesia for that.
Yeah, you're out. You're totally out.
Okay, yeah.
So my wife was really worried because that took 5 hours.
Yeah.
They thought it was a quick operation. And then, I woke up from that and with a tube out of my chest, tube things inflating my feet, all that drama. And I was in the hospital for like 5 days. After that, it was really painful. But anyway, so they diagnosed me from that. But they confirmed it was pulmonary sarcoidosis. So I was put on prednisone, but I'm a person who has never liked medication. I don't like prescription drugs. So I decided I would go to an Ayurvedic doctor to see if there were any alternative methods to treat sarcoidosis. And this guy was actually he was well known for being able to treat. He was very versed with sarcoidosis. And I told him, this is what I had. And he was like, don't be stupid, take the prednisone. So
really,
he
told you to take your prednisone.
He said that's the only thing that's going to work. You need an anti-inflammatory. So I was like, so I took the prednisone. So I was on prednisone for like a year, and I didn't have any real effects from it as such. I did put on some weight. I did get a little bit of a moon face.
Yeah.
And
were you irritable?
Oh God, yes. The mood swings are horrible.
Uh-huh.
God bless my wife.
Yeah, right. That's what everybody says.
Yeah. 1 minute I'm a nice guy, next minute I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Okay.
So so then in 2007, a year after, my pulmonologist tried out a new medication. And I don't remember for hell what that medication was. But I took the medication, and that night when I went to sleep, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and my right side was paralyzed.
What?
Yeah. And so I woke up and my hand was limp and I couldn't move my arm and all that stuff. And I was like, maybe I just slept badly.
Yeah.
So I was about to turn and wake up my wife, and then I started to feel tingling in my fingers and then tingling in my hands, and it slowly came back and everything came right back. And I was like, okay, I slept badly. So I just turned back and went back to sleep. So I got up in the morning and I told my wife, I slept badly and this is what happened. She's like, look, you just started a new medication.
Do you remember what the medication was?
No, I cannot remember what it was at all. So she told me, call my doctor. And that's one great thing I had with that pulmonologist. He always thought outside of the box. He didn't if I told him this was happening, I was with him for 20 years, actually. He never questioned what I said. He wasn't like, oh, no, it's not that, it's not that. He was like, okay, if you believe that, let's check it out. So I called him up and I said, this is what happened. And he told me, come in right away. So he sent me down for an MRI and some other stuff. And it came back, everything was fine. But he was telling me he had a sneaky suspicion of something else. And he sent me into a cardiologist. And he told the cardiologist to do an echocardiogram, but asked for a bubble test.
Okay.
So the bubble test is where they put saline into your blood. And there's some reaction that happens that forms tiny carbon dioxide bubbles that they're able to see in the echocardiogram. And they did that and they saw I had a hole in my heart. So what I had was a mini stroke.
You had a mini stroke. That's why you couldn't move your arm.
So it had nothing to do with the medication.
All right.
It just happenstance.
Did it have anything to do with sarcoidosis?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Okay.
So, so I was supposed. My dad pulmonologist. He set me up to go to Yale to have the hole plugged. So it's what it's called is it's a PFO. It's a patent foramen ovale. So everybody has one, and when you're born, it closes. But in some people, it does not, and it goes undetected for years. Or in some people, you get a stroke or a mini stroke if blood clot slips through there.
Okay.
So I went to Yale, and it's a pretty standard procedure. It's done by a pediatric cardiosurgeon. So it's like I went to this guy and I set it up and everything, and then I happened to mention it to somebody, and that I did not tell anybody about the sarcoidosis because I'm a pretty private person.
Okay.
So I didn't tell anybody at all except my wife knew. And then when I found out I had to have heart surgery, I was like, okay, I got to tell my family. This is not just something.
You want people to know everything they're up against.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's like, not to be negative, but if I die on the operating table, I don't want my wife calling everybody and saying, "Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
he's dead." So I mentioned it to this person that I had to go an operation. He's like, "Oh, really?" I should back up a little bit. My cardiologist was trying to get me into Mount Sinai
Okay.
to see Dr. Turstein. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Turstein. He was like he's one of the pioneer researchers for sarcoidosis.
Okay.
Alvin Turstein, very dedicated guy. He actually passed away at his desk at Mount Sinai.
Huh.
So I was trying to get in to see him for a long time, and it was going to be months and months before I saw him. And this person I spoke to said, I know people in Mount Sinai, and I could get you in if you want to go get checked there. And I was like, okay, great, because I have sarcoidosis, and I know about this Dr. Turstein. And he was like, oh, I can get you to see Dr. Turstein also. So the next day, I got a call from Mount Sinai, and they were like, can you come in tomorrow? And, so I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
So I went in.
Somebody did know somebody.
Yeah, he did. So I went in, and I saw Dr. Turstein and everything, and they agreed to close the hole in the heart. So usually the closure for the PFO is they put a plug in the heart. It's like an umbrella.
Yeah.
They put it in and it opens on both sides. And it's a mesh. And it's done under local anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
They go in through the groin, up through the veins, and
Okay.
do it that way. But the surgeon who went to do it, he said, as we have you here, do you mind if we put you under general to run some extra test? And I was like, okay, fine, because I'd really want to be up for this,
Yeah. Okay.
So they did the general. So I woke up after the operation, and he was at the end of the bed, and he said, well, good news. So the plug is closed. You put in a new umbrella thing. Bad news, your heart is in failure. So which
Your
was
heart
a
is
shock.
in failure.
It's in failure, yeah.
Wow.
So my ejection fraction was 25%.
Whew.
So in order to do that operation for the PFO, I had to have a full heart workup. And I had a whole heart workup done a month before. And my heart was perfectly healthy. It was fully working. They said I had the heart of a teenager. And then exactly a month later, it was in failure. So
you went
within
from
that
100%
time,
to 25%. And you were an active person. You were hiking in Colorado. You had the
hiking,
mountains.
hiking, biking, all that stuff.
All
Swimming.
Okay.
Yeah. So so they deduced it was sarcoidosis went to the heart. So they did a PET scan, and yes, it confirmed it, that there was sarcoidosis in the heart. And I would need a defibrillator, AICD put in. So I had that operation. And then after that operation, the heart failure specialist came to me, and he said, well, now in about 5 years, you need a heart transplant. And I was like, I was perfectly fine a month ago. I was healthy and everything, and now I need a heart transplant. So I was given 5 years, and he said maximum 10. So I laughed at him, actually, right? And I said, no, I'm going out with the heart I came in with.
And what year was this?
This was 2007.
So you beat the odds a little bit.
Yeah, a good bit. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Good for you.
So so that's then from there. I've had 2000 so that was 2007. 2009, I developed hypertension, pulmonary hypertension, because of the pressure, because of the stiffness of the lungs. So I had stage 4 pulmonary sarcoidosis.
Stage 4 pulmonary. Okay.
Yeah. So because of the scarring in the lungs, the backup pressure was causing pulmonary hypertension. So I had pulmonary hypertension, heart failure, cardiopulmonary sarcoidosis. Then after that, I was having a little trouble breathing, and they did another X-ray for something, and they found out that the right side of my diaphragm was now paralyzed.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so that was paralyzed. And then right after that, I started, so my mindset has always been positive. Actually, I make a joke out of it. I find everything funny,
Good for you.
because like when I was in the hospital and they came in and told me one after the other, like this is that, this is that, this is that, this is that. I was just laughing at each one. It's like, okay, what next? When I
Right.
saw a doctor, when I saw a
Yeah.
doctor come into the room, I was like, okay, what next? I was just laughing. So after that, I always maintain a positive attitude, and for reasons that doctors cannot understand, I reversed the pulmonary hypertension, which is pretty much unheard of. So they don't know how or what, and my heart function went from 25, and now I'm at an average of like 50, 60.
Okay.
Percent. So I maintain that, but the lungs are like, that's my problem is mostly the lungs. The lungs are really, really scarred. They're in a bad way. And then, I've been on prednisone for 20 years.
How many milligrams do you take?
Varied. So right now I'm at 5.
Okay.
And I've tried multiple times to come off of it, and I have not been able to. It's just like everything crashes and stuff. So I'm on my fifth attempt now, and we're using methotrexate.
Yep.
So I was at 10.
Have you
down
seen
to
the
5.
new studies that suggest methotrexate is just as effective, if not more effective, than prednisone over
Yes,
8
I
months?
saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
reported that on the podcast. Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I saw that. I've been on methotrexate now for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm down to 5 milligrams, and it's hell. It's like the joint pains, the aches, the pains, the headaches. It's really, really hard. It's like I'm trying to walk, and it's painful to walk. My breathing is really hard. So and the other thing that happened, because I had the pulmonary hypertension and the stiffness of the lung, the size of the plug that they put in for the PFO was for the original size. But with all the pressures, the hole got bigger. So the leak never closed. It still happens. So I have to be on blood thinners, and they can't fix it, because to fix it is extremely dangerous. So they just have to leave it as it is with the hole. And so from being on prednisone, I have osteoporosis and diabetes, and spinal stenosis. And I was having some nerve pain last year in my right side, my right leg. And I went to a neurologist, and he decided to do an MRI just to make sure I didn't have sarcoidosis on the brain or on the stem. And I did not, which was good news. But the bad news was I had a tumor on my vestibular nerve called vestibular schwannoma or acoustic neuroma.
It wasn't a granuloma. It was
No,
an actual
it was
tumor.
nothing. It was an actual tumor, but it's a benign tumor.
Okay.
And it's a teeny tiny little guy. I call him Fred. He lives there without paying rent. So, as long as he stays quiet, he can stay there.
Okay.
So it's just 3 millimeters. So right now I'm just being monitored. I have to have like annual MRIs, and then it goes to every 5 years.
And where is that located? That's on one of your nerves?
It's on my left vestibular nerve, which is for hearing and balance, I think. Balance,
Okay.
yeah.
What is your day-to-day like, Tate? I mean, you've got so much going on. I mean, are you able to get up, move around, go to family events, work? I mean, what is your life like right now?
Right now, so I will not lie, it's tough. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but I wake up in the morning and I'm like really grateful I'm still alive. So I'm like, I get out of bed, I stretch, I let whatever pain do its thing, and I go on with my day. So it's like, I've learned that I have a very high pain tolerance. So I'm able to survive a lot more, I guess, than a lot of people who have the same, comparable amount of stuff that I have, but it's very painful. But I live with it. And I have a wonderful wife who, she takes up a lot of my slack.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff that I can't do is like I can't, before I used to be able to lift everything and move everything. And now it's like I'm limited to so many pounds of lifting because of the heart failure and all that stuff. And she takes a lot of my slack. So
Yeah.
she's my greatest support. Yes, I'm a private chef.
You're a private chef?
Yeah.
That's so cool. But
Yeah.
that takes a lot of mental energy. I have a neighbor who's a private chef. You're cutting up all the food, you're doing all the stuff, you're going in and out of people's houses. That's got to be really difficult.
So there's a difference between a private chef and a personal chef.
Ah, okay.
All right. So personal chef goes
personal
from
chef
house.
is what she is.
Yes, I'm a private chef. I work for one family, full time.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to their house and you cook for.
Yeah, I do breakfast, lunch,
Have a
dinner.
little bit of
Right.
money, huh?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
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 So
We don't have a private chef at my house.
your wife?
Wish we have my wife. Yeah. So, but you're able to do that. You're able to go to work most days.
Yeah, I go to work every day. Every day.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I've been working for this family for many years, and the only time I've ever taken time off was for surgeries. Oh, I forgot to mention, in 2020, I had severe back pain, and I tend to ignore stuff when I get pain because I'm so accustomed to pain. And I told my wife I had pain, and she was like, "You should go to a doctor." And I was like, "I've always had pain because I injured my back when I was a teenager." And she's like, "No, this is a different pain. This is not your usual pain." And I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." So this was on a Sunday. No, it was a Saturday, Sunday. Then I started to cough on Monday. And then by Tuesday or Wednesday, I started to cough blood.
Huh.
So I decided to go to the doctor.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I turned out I had a collapsed lung. Yeah.
And that
So the
was
lung.
sarcoidosis?
Yes, it was a spontaneous collapse, pneumothorax.
And they were
And
able to fix that?
No, so they decided not to because at that time I was on Plavix and all that stuff. And when they took x-rays, they deemed it wasn't necessary to operate. So they kept me in the hospital for 4 days on oxygen to see if it would close itself up, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
So it redid itself, and then 6 months to the day, it happened again. So I was back in the hospital, and they did a pleurodesis, which was also ridiculously painful.
Yeah.
So because of the pleurodesis, that's where they adhere the lung to the chest wall so it doesn't collapse again.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, my breathing on my right side is limited and the amount of air I could take in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the breathing on my left side, the right side, I have the paralyzed diaphragm. So, right now my breathing has been the worst it's ever been.
God, so do you have the terrible fatigue that so many sarcoidosis patients suffer?
Horrible fatigue, but I pushed through it.
Really?
I pushed through it. I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes I would give in. I give myself every day at 3:00. I allow myself to take a nap.
You do?
Every day. I do.
Every day.
It's like I know that every day at 3:00, I'm going to take a nap, and that's my time.
Yeah.
So any fatigue I push through. Before that, after that, I push through it. So
where does your determination come from?
I guess determination to survive. It's just yeah. I've always been a fighter. As a kid, I was pretty much a loner. I always did things on my own. I've always been a person who did things for himself. So it's like I never relied on anyone. So that's probably the reason too I started the podcast. Because I went when I first got sarcoidosis, I joined the Mount Sinai support group.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's really good, but it wasn't for me. I have a totally different mindset, and for lack of a better word, a lot of people are not, they don't know how to handle what they're, they're sad, they're angry, and for lack of a better word, they whine a lot.
They whine a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was not for me, so I decided not to do it. And then when I got heart failure and I looked for another support group, I was 45, and most of the people who had heart failure were in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
So
Didn't have a lot in common with them.
No, so everything back, everything was geared towards people in the 80s, and all the literature was about people in the 80s and stuff. So it was like, I felt like I was on an island, doing nothing by myself. So I decided to do a blog. It's like, for other people who, like me, were looking for stuff other than, false hope or false cures or, So I decided, like, this is how I live with sarcoidosis, and this is what I'm going to share with you. So my blog was all about, not about cures, not about anything. It was like, okay, this is what happened to me. I went to a doctor, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
And this is what I expected, and this is what I made come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so that was my whole basis on it. And then, as you know, blogs kind of like passe now. People very rarely read blogs anymore.
People want video now. I still blog.
Yeah.
I still blog a little about bicycles and whatnot. But, yeah.
And I'm only doing audio podcasts. I'm not into the video podcasts. So
okay.
So that's when I decided I'll change from blogging to do a podcast. About living with chronic illness, what it's like, what it's really like. Not a doctor telling you what to expect, or a professional who's not really living with it. They're just looking at it from the outside.
Yeah.
I decided to give it a point of view from inside the fishbowl. This is what it's like.
Yeah. So, and what is the name of your podcast?
A Body Rebels.
A Body
Rebels. Yeah.
Okay. And you're on all the platforms, just like this podcast is. Yeah. Yep. So, and what's your format? You just sit and talk about what's going on with you?
So yeah, it's all my yak. But the only thing is, my voice gives out a lot. Like, my voice is being good today. So
you had warned me about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, my voice is being good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my voice gives out a lot and gets tired. So my wife will be happy, because when I go home after this, I'll be too tired. My voice will be too tired to talk, so she'll get a break. Yeah. So, but I use an AI voice to do my podcast.
You do?
Yeah. So it saves a lot of pressure and a lot of time.
So you write it all out? You write it all out?
Yep.
And then tell the AI voice to say it.
Yeah. Feed it into the thing, and it reads it out. And it's a pretty good voice. It's like very realistic. It's not my voice. It's not an AI version of my voice. It's another voice, but it's, the tone and everything else it's like listening to somebody, so it makes my life a lot easier.
I have not listened, although I had every intention, since I knew we were going to be talking about this, but life has intervened, life in the TV newsroom, and it's just there has been a lot. There's just been a lot.
Yeah, right.
Today I did a story on a kid who went to the dentist, got anesthesia, had a bad reaction, never woke up.
Oh.
I mean, when I went to work this morning, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
That's how I spend my day, is, talking to the lawyers and trying to decide whether we should try and talk to the family, but the family is not at a point where they want to talk yet, and you got to respect that. It's just TV news. You just never know. I don't mean to get off on a sidetrack, but it's just,
yes, I know what you mean.
I wanted to spend some time listening, but I would have been surprised if I'd heard that AI voice. Now, I got to ask you, as a fellow podcaster, how long is your actual podcast? Because I just couldn't sit down and talk for an hour about stuff.
Right.
I didn't have the benefit of having fellow sarcoidosis patients and researchers sharing their stories. I don't know what I'd do.
So with today's world, with TikTok and these short videos, people can have a short attention span. Nobody wants to sit down and listen to a podcast of me yakking, for like an hour. So they're very short. They go from like 5 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good sweet spot.
Yeah.
That's a good sweet spot. It's for sure. So, I'm curious, have you had to go through any personal counseling as you've gone through these struggles?
Yes.
Yeah.
I resisted it at first,
Yeah.
and then I eventually I did therapy. I
I
did do
thought it
therapy
helped.
because
Yeah.
I did, because I was suppressed anger. A lot of suppressed anger, because in my mind, I went from a 45-year-old to an 83-year-old, because I was living on oxygen, walking around as a 45-year-old guy with an oxygen tank and tubes. You get a lot of stares and you get self-conscious about it. It's like people start watching you with pity. It's like, oh my God, is he dying? So yeah, I was suppressed anger, a lot of suppressed anger. And I did therapy, and it helped a lot. I got a lot out of that. Helped me to see myself in a different way, to appreciate where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been a person too I've always lived for today. I guess, being a chef too, it's like pretty much, I'm just like studying today's meals. I don't have time to study tomorrow's meals,
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just studying today's stuff. When tomorrow comes, I'll worry about that.
Do you have a specialty like French cuisine or anything like that?
So I learned at the Culinary Institute of America. I'm professionally trained, but my favorite thing to cook, well, I have a joke when people say, "What is your favorite thing to make?" And I say reservations, because I love to eat out, But
Yeah.
the people I work for are great. It's like they don't really care. There's whatever I feel like cooking. It's like one of those places where you have to present a menu every week and
Right.
all that stuff. It's like whatever they get that day, what in front of them, they're happy
Oh, that's
with.
good.
So
Yeah.
I change it up. I rarely cook the same thing twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see that as it sounds to me like then just from that point, you like a challenge. You want to find the next thing, you want to do the next thing.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of doctors where I've had to fire them because I ask a lot of questions. It could be very annoying. It's like, I'm not just if they tell me this is what has to be done, I'm like, why? What's the alternative? I go through a whole list of questions that come up. And that's what I want people to know too. You can fire your doctor.
Yeah, you can. I've fired some.
If you're not happy with a doctor, move on. Get a second opinion. Always get a second opinion.
Yeah. But it's hard to find a good sarcoidosis doctor, especially if you live in you live outside New York City.
I know, it's like they're a dime a dozen here.
Yeah. Well, even there, it's
I know it's
so
tough.
many, but there are a lot more doctors, per capita, I'm sure.
I know.
Yeah. So how do you see your life moving forward from here?
That's a good question, because I just live for the day. So it's hard to say like, oh, I see myself doing this in 10 years or 5 years, because I don't know what the universe has planned for me. So I'm just going to do the best I can today and hope I can do the best I can tomorrow.
Great.
And to make something good in the world.
Doing something good. That's all we can hope for, right? That's all we can try and make a contribution. So how often do you upload your podcast? And I guess people can find it anywhere they find podcasts, but how often do you create a new one?
I upload one on a Tuesday and a Friday. Every Tuesday.
Twice a week?
Twice a week, yeah.
Wow.
And the website is called abodyrebels.com.
Abodyrebels.com?
Correct.
Wow, I can't believe that URL was available. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of tough. Yeah, it was like, there's all kind of other iterations of that word name and stuff. But
yeah,
I got that. Yeah, abodyrebels.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Tate, anything else you want to add?
No, just, for people to just hang in there. It's tough. I know it's tough. And you may feel alone, but you're not alone. There are a lot of people out there and a lot of people I know have families that just don't understand what's going on. And that's why I did that podcast too, is to help people's family members understand what they are living with. By hearing what I'm going through, maybe you'll get just a glimpse of what they're going through.
Yeah.
So, it's not just for sarcoidosis or chronic illness patients, but it's for the families and loved ones also.
Yeah.
So just stick in there. It'll be okay. You'll make it through. It may be tough, but it's okay.
Thanks for joining me, Tate.
Thank you so much for having me.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
So thank you to Tate for bearing his soul for us. After we finished the interview, Tate wanted to contact me, and he had a clarification. So I just want to share that with you. I'm going to read it to you exactly. He says, I forgot to mention one important detail about why the move from Yale to Mount Sinai was so significant. He writes, it was not that one hospital was better than the other. The key difference was that Mount Sinai agreed to perform the procedure under general anesthesia to facilitate more extensive testing of my heart, and I'm not sure that Yale would have. That decision, he wrote, ultimately led to the discovery of my cardiac sarcoidosis. The doctors later told me that had it not been found, I likely would have died suddenly within a month or two. That's the real significance of the Yale to Mount Sinai change in my story. So that's the clarification from Tate, and wow, he made that decision for a different reason, but they discovered the cardiac sarcoidosis, and if they hadn't, it sounds like Tate might not be with us, but he did write to me afterwards and wanted me to add that clarification. So Tate, there it is. And I did listen to one of his podcasts. Very interesting. He uses an AI voice. He writes it all down and then uploads it because he says he loses his voice a lot. He writes it all down and then uploads it and has an AI voice actually do the reading. And he told me how you kind of give that robot the cues that you want, like laugh or pause or whatever, and it actually does it. So I will put a link to his podcast called A Body Rebels in the show notes, or you can Google it, or Google Tate Basildon podcast. And he's got a whole website where he's got some different things that he does. He mentioned he was a chef, and so he's a very energetic guy and does a lot with the computer and generates a lot of content for his website. So that'll be right there with the show notes for this podcast. But Tate, thank you so much. I wish you continued health, and please do stay in touch. All right, this is a good time to contact me. I am looking for guests to be on the podcast. Email me. That's the easiest, carlinagency@gmail.com. The official Sarc Fighter song is Zombie by Mark Steyer, and he is a fellow Sarc Fighter. He appeared initially way back in episode 12, and we got an update from Mark on how he's doing, which isn't great, in episode 118. The podcast, as I said, well, normally I shoot for every other Monday, but this has really been a difficult time schedule-wise, but it's the summer, and so I've got some more travel planned, but I'm going to do my best. I've got several interviews lined up, and hopefully we can get that done. As I'm speaking to you today, my trusty boxer Dougal is curled up on the chair in my office. Shandy, my adorable rescue mutt, is sleeping on the bed in my bedroom, and I'm dog sitting for my son, and right now I have a lap full of Golden Doodle. Yeah, she's a good girl. So I get the benefit of 3 dogs today. Also, if you are new here and just trying to figure out what Sarc is, go back and listen to episode 2 with Dr. Simon Hart. My story is episode 1. Again, please send me an email. It's in the show notes, carlinagency@gmail.com. And until next time, keep fighting.
Learn to suffer, you feel pain someday. Learn endurance, your strength will fade away. Dead man walking, trying to keep up the pace.